I'm Eric Chemi, and this is Politely Pushy. This week on the show, Ken Jacobs is my guest. He's had a long career in PR, and now he's a leadership coach, executive coaching. He's working with senior executives at a lot of these communication firms. So we have a lot to talk about. But Ken, just quickly give me the bio, what you did in PR, and then why you made the switch and what exactly you're doing now on the leadership consulting side.
Great. Well, thank you. And thanks for having me. Very excited to be here. I was in the PR agency business for 25 plus years. I got into management and leadership early. That had some pluses, that had some not pluses. I worked at a firm called DAY Public Relations. We were purchased by Ogilvy and Mather, became Ogilvy and Mather Public Relations, and 14,000 other names. I exaggerate slightly. We worked for many years at Marina Mar Communications, Lippy Taylor, Maloney and Fox, which is a division of Wagner Edstrom. So as you can see, always in that consumer marketing PR space, all agencies of all different sizes. If you want the real answer of why I made the switch, the honest answer.
Yeah, I want the honest answer.
Okay, how real are we going to?
I didn't know if that was a hypothetical that you expected me to answer, but yeah, I want the honest.
No, it's a real question. Yeah. Real questions, real answered. So at the end of my last tenure on the agency side, I was 50. I had to acknowledge that my tenure at these agencies, and I have lovely relationships with all these agencies and their leaders, even still, that they were of shorter duration. And if we're going to be real, not always by my own choice. So I had to think about what wasn't working on the agency side. Was I maybe meant to do something different? And I was. And so I did a career reevaluation with the help of a coach. We did the Venn diagram. We looked at what I was really good at, what brought me joy, what there was a market for. And so we realized that what I wanted to have and where I could have success was a business where we faced the PR and marketing and advertising and communications worlds, not exclusively, but mostly, and that it was the agency side, not exclusively, but mostly, and to help them achieve their goals and their leaders achieve their goals through consulting and training and coaching. And so that was in 2007. So it's been a while. I spent almost as much time doing this as I did on the agency side.
That's amazing. It's like a whole new career there, but you're working with similar people. You understand the life cycle of where they're coming from. You understand their unique pressures and challenges because you were in their shoes before.
Well, that's what they tell me. In reality, well, certainly that's very true with consulting and training. In coaching, you use a coaching technique. I'm very firm about using the coaching model, asking empowering questions, asking, not telling. But most of my clients are in the PR space, but most of the time we're not in the coaching work. We're not talking about PR marketing, advertising. We're talking about how are they doing as a leader? Are they effective? Are they inspiring? Do they have followers? Do they have followers who are engaged? And so the notion of PR and marketing and advertising communications doesn't come up in coaching. What my coaching clients tell me is that they like the fact that they can use shorthand. They like the fact that I've held their jobs or jobs very similar. So I do like that. Obviously, the background in PR and marketing advertising is very front and center when we do consulting work or training work.
And how are all those leaders doing right now? Because we are in this recession scare. Workers are demanding more money. They've got so much power they can go to the next job. Clients are tightening budgets. In a way, it's the worst combination. It's margin killing. I'm making less money and I'm paying out more money. How are they dealing with that?
Yeah. All different ways, all different ways. One thing I help them work through is to not see these as challenging times, because if you come of it as this is a challenging time and you believe it's a challenging time, then your followers will believe that too.
Wait, so just pretend it's not challenging? How do you
not pretend. big believer in authenticity, but you do have choices. You can look at it as an uncertain time, and you can look at it as a time with opportunity. Every time in the life cycle of an agency, in the life cycle of an agency owner, there is opportunity. So let's start where you were. If we look at it as uncertain, I think these are very uncertain times. Will we be in recession? Will we not? If we hit recession, how long till we get out of it? When will gas prices go down? When will Russia leave Ukraine? I mean, the list goes on and on. And I think focusing on how to lead effectively during uncertain times, it's a little different than leading during other times. Or there are leadership skills that you apply and you hone because they are uncertain times. So I always believe start with you as a leader. If you're truly leading in that leadership zone, so to speak, it will be that much easier to manage the issues you've raised, the perfect storm, the higher salaries, the fact that our clients are scared about recession, et cetera, et cetera. So I always say lead first, manage and operationalize and all that second. Not that those things are not important, but you'll be able to do it better. And you'll have people following you, maybe helping you with that.
How is the last 2 years with the pandemic, especially working from home, remote work, hybrid, people relocating to the middle of nowhere because they just need internet and a computer? How has that affected your leaders' well-being, right? When you're talking in those intimate conversations, the coaching of, why am I doing this anymore? What is my role? Do I need to spend more time with my family? Those kind of conversations. What has the last 2 years been like versus, let's say, the first 13 that you were in this practice?
Right. So they brought certain challenges, and many of them found opportunity. Many of them switched up the industry categories in which they work. Many of them switched up some of the type of work they did. Many of them focused, on the type of clients they would pursue, because, when you pursue clients, it takes just as long to pursue a client that will pay you well as a client who won't pay you well. So, for example, if April or May or June of 2020, if an agency could do well in and had expertise in a few categories, one of the category was retail and brick and mortar. Another category was travel and luxe. But they had other categories. We'd say, look, change your focus, pursue clients who can afford to pay you and pay you well. So that's from the biz dev side. But I think your question might be more about the coaching side. One thing I have seen, and I see opportunity other than many of us lost people, and many people got very sick, and many people have long-term COVID, and that's tragic. It's nothing less than tragic. All that said, there can be opportunity in this. A lot of, this whole notion of what is work about, what is life about, how does work fit into my life? While that has been mostly articulated, I think, by younger millennials and certainly Gen Z, there are many boomers who are asking that question. There are even some Gen Xers asking that question. And I think when you go deep and do that, it allows you to create a greater sense of purpose. What is your agency all about? And if you're creating an agency that is about that shared purpose, all your generations, but particularly your younger millennials and your Gen Z, will connect, will want to work towards that, will want to work towards, that common vision. So I think that's important to figure out. The other, benefit of this time is that I think we have all appreciated the importance of mental health. And I hope that's not going to go away, even as we perhaps come out of the great quit, the big quit, the great resignation, call it what you want. I hope we all realize how important our mental well-being is. And to that point, if you as a leader want your people to be mentally well, emotionally well, physically well, guess who it starts with? It doesn't start with them. it starts with you. It's like what they say when you're traveling, on an airplane and those oxygen masks come down. First put on yours and then put it on the traveling companion. So it is about serving others. If you want your team to be fit mentally, emotionally, physically, and if you want them to take care of those aspects of their lives, because if they do, they'll be of greater value to your clients and to one another and to you, then you've got to do it yourself. You have to fill that cup, and you're modeling it. Back in the day long ago, my teams reported to me that even though I said to them, go home, have your family, go to the gym, do whatever you want to do, I'm good with that. They didn't believe me because I worked workaholic hours. And they felt, well, yeah, Ken's saying that, but he's the EVP. And if I someday want to be a senior VP or an EVP, I've got to work workaholic hours too. So I needed to learn that my actions were much more important. What's the quote? What you do as a leader speaks so loudly that I can't hear what you're saying. So your actions and taking care of yourself is just critical.
Do you think there's a common thread among the people that are strong with their mental health versus the ones that are weak? So is it a generational difference? Is it a gender difference? Is it a religious difference, a family difference? Like, is there some theme when you say, okay, these people all seem to have it figured out and these people don't? Is there something that unifies those groups?
It's not a gender or ethnic or any other thing that I've observed. I think it is somewhat generational in that younger millennials, it's a really important value. I mean, you have to be careful not to overgeneralize. And if you look at the research, younger millennials get this, Gen Z gets this, and I think leaders who are boomers, though many of them are now leaving the workforce, and Gen X are starting to be influenced by that. And I also say to them, look, you get to choose. You get to choose how you live your life and your work. You've got to understand and customize your leadership style for those you're leading. And for many of us in the agency business, a lot of our labor force are Gen Z, younger millennials, even not so younger millennials. So let's just, for a leader, banish from your language and your thinking, well, when I started at an agency, when I was their age, when I was an account supervisor, nothing will stop a conversation more quickly because you're saying that, and what they're hearing is, oh my God, were you alive in the Civil War? It just ages you. It doesn't build your influence. So
what are they supposed to say instead? If it's because I think their point is like, hey, I've been in your shoes. I know what it's like. I'm not speaking randomly. I have some experience, but it doesn't work, right? Nobody wants to hear that. So what works instead?
So I would start with never, ever say, I understand what it's like for you. We cannot understand what it's like for someone. We can acknowledge and validate. We can replay their words and say, so what I'm hearing is ... Yes, okay. And I imagine that's important to you because I've observed that these two values are important to you, correct? That is so much more effective than ever saying, I understand what's going on for you. And then you can say, well, from what I've seen, what I've researched, what I'm learning, present tense, these are some things you may want to do. And we're going to not only give you permission to do them, i.e., take care of your mental health, take care of your emotional and physical health. Here are the agency benefits and the agency philosophies and values around that to allow you to take care of those things. So that, and of course, that's action. That's not just words.
You've been doing a lot with LinkedIn. You're all over it. Your authenticity comes through. You're constantly engaging with people and companies. What do you think that secret sauce is? Is it because your skills as a coach, working with people and companies in a sort of business and human way at the same time. So what's your secret sauce and what's your advice for the normal people out there who are trying to find meaningful relationships this way?
Yeah, so it's not so secret sauce. I mean, first of all, and I love cliches because they've withstood the test of time. It's being authentic, bringing your authentic self to those interactions is number one. But let me go to your question. Am I good on LinkedIn or social media because I'm a coach? I think the construct is a little different. I have learned that I have a desire and a need, and I am good at helping people, empowering people, getting them to go within to be better at their jobs, to be better leaders, to have more fulfilled lives. That's a very important driver for me. So I think that's what brought me to coaching. And modesty aside, I believe makes me an effective coach. That is what my clients tell me. And so when your focus is on the other, building bridges with others, supporting others, empowering others, if you bring that to social media, I mean, when I share on posts, I do think about, this is going to be really helpful to my clients and or my prospects, admittedly, and or my network. I really think about it. And then I think about that when I choose what I'll share. And then I also think about, and this is from my agency days, let me add something to the conversation. Let me do more. It's nice to share. That's great. But let me, share an observation from that post of someone else that I'm sharing. Let me share something of my own experience, or let me customize. But it is first and foremost, I hope, I believe, not about publicizing my firm, not about getting people to hire me, though I hope they'll hire me, but about, can I bring value by sharing this post of someone else's? And will my commentary bring some value as well? So
you mentioned something about hiring, and I'm just going to ask, you don't have to answer it. Are you seeing the ripple effect? Are you seeing the ripple effect of the economic landscape right now? Because I think about a PR agency, they're suffering some margin, squeeze. They're hoping that client companies are going to have budget for marketing and PR, and they're going to go hire agencies. And then you're needing agencies to have money that they want to bring you on. So are you seeing a little bit of this? Hey, Ken, you're great, but we gotta cut costs right now, right? Is it this trickle effect, or is it we're so desperate that we really need to ramp up the coaching? What's been the response?
Well, I certainly wish it were the latter. I can maybe make the case that, if you do need to cut back and you have, a lot of work for fewer people, coaching them into their utmost greatness and effectiveness, whatever, I can make that case. The reality is I tried to make that case in 2007 and 2008, and the leaders with whom I was prospecting would say, Ken, I get it. I'm just trying to not lay off people. So anyway, but I'm seeing some concern. I'm seeing some fear, but I'm seeing some, let's just observe the marketplace. But there are a couple of things, let's learn from every downturn. And, you can tell from the gray hair that I've lived through a few of these downturns, and each has learning for us and opportunity. So what are some things you can do? First of all, as an agency, it's not about over-servicing. If you're worried about your margins, then stop over-servicing is thought one. Thought two is get in touch with your clients, be with your clients, spend time, whether it's virtual or in person, spend time with them, get them talking about the issues that they're having in doing PR and doing marketing. So stop over servicing, be in touch more. And then finally, top to bottom, understand that there are a lot of agencies out there that are creative, that are strategic. Frankly, there are a lot of agencies that are as good as yours. I'm sorry, but that's just
no. I think that's true in any industry, right? Everyone says like, hey, well, our company is da 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 da. And they make it seem like they're standing out. It's like, no, that's
no.
table stakes. That's what is required for you to have this business and take on clients.
Exactly. So the two things I think an agency can do about that, well, there's three. Is there four? I've lost count. Be all over your clients, lots of dialogue, be brave enough to ask, how are we doing? How can we do better? You've got to know. And then everyone from top down needs to understand that since it's not about table stakes, good point, get in the mindset of providing 5-star client service, not 4-star.
But you said not to over-service, though.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
It's about understanding them personally. It's about surprise and delight. It's about remembering birthdays and kids' soccer games and
all that human stuff.
All the human stuff.
Yeah.
And being there for them. And as I say, surprise and delight. Surprise and delight and understanding what's important and adding that personal touch and getting in the mindset. Like if you've ever stayed at a truly 5-star resort, a Ritz-Carlton or a Four Seasons, get in the mindset of the concierge at one of those places.
True. So it's surprise and delight, but it's less over service, because I can see a lot of owners saying, we got to just keep doing more and more and more. But all you're mentioning things that they don't take that much effort. They just take a little bit of thought and planning, but they don't take up a lot of time.
They don't. Right. They take less. It actually takes less time, and it's a hell of a lot more fun.
Yeah,
it is really a joy to send someone a case of beer when their college team wins. It's a sense of joy when they love Billy Joel, and without even asking, you send them tickets to the concert. Those kind of investments, or if we're comfortable being together, encouraging something with the teams get together and do something experiential. So we're bonding, we're sharing, we're building trust, we're laughing, we're having fun, we're getting to know one another. So if that costs $100 or $500 or $600 or $1,000, but you're not over servicing by $10,000 a month, what's going to give you better ROI?
There's a lot to unpack there, because I think there's a lot of owners, a lot of agency leaders that are thinking about, we need to just service more. I'd rather not lose the account. But I like your approach, which is it's in a way servicing more, but it's with delight, with fun, something that they'll remember more. It has an emotional attachment, and they'll be maybe less likely to cut you loose because they feel like a friend. Maybe it doesn't work all the time.
I think it's about relationship at multiple levels. It's about trust at multiple levels, shared experiences at multiple levels. And I think, and I don't want to minimize that, being in touch with every single client. How are we doing? How are we doing not only with outcomes and results, which are critical, of course, but how are we doing with client service? Are we surprising and delighting? Are we going above and beyond in how we treat you? Are we asking all of us enough? How are we doing? So understanding where your clients are about you is critical. That doesn't cost anything. It just takes guts.
So when you're, let's say, recommending a PR firm or a marketing firm to some of your clients, how much of your recommendation is actually more of these things and less about the capabilities? Maybe it's like everyone's got the capabilities, right? The best 10, 20, 50, 100 firms I can name have the capabilities. Does it end up really being the choices based on some of these soft skills? They treat their employees better. They'll treat you better, et cetera.
Yeah, well, I think it's about a couple of things. I think it's about the metrics and the results. Yes, strategy is important. Creative is important. And some agencies are more strategic than others. And if that's important to you, and it should be, you've got to make a lot of your questions about that. And you've got to look for that in their cases and in their examples, and, ask questions about things that are important to you. So I do think it's about strategy. I think it's about metrics. And then think about, PR, this great industry that many of us have been called to serve in many ways, or that's called us. It's not the easiest business, is it? Right? It's not for the faint of heart. So you've got to think about, like, in the tough, when the going gets tough, the agency people I've met, of these 4 or 5 agencies that have pitched, who do I want in the trenches with me? Who do I want to be in the trenches with? Who am I going to be willing to have a tough discussion with? If I'm not happy with performance of these 4 or 5 agencies, who can I imagine having honest dialogue? And hopefully this value is important to you. Who's going to tell me not just what I need to know, what I want to know, who's going to tell me what I need to know? And you have to imagine that with each of the people. You've got to, think through it that way. And then finally, trust your gut, trust your gut, trust your gut. If you're thinking, I like agency 3, I'm just getting a good feel, their answers were good, I think they'll be honest with me, I want to work with them. But agency 2 is bigger, or agency 2, has more awards, or
right,
whatever.
Like on paper, they're the ones that I
Yeah.
should hire, but I just like 3 better. Yeah.
Always follow your gut. Your gut is never wrong. It is based on science. It is something going on where literally your gut says, we've been here before. Please follow me. Don't listen to your brain right now. It's funny, right? Don't listen to your brain, because your brain's going to maybe have some fear in it. Maybe it's going to go for security, right? Go with the gut. I want to be with these people. I'll be honest with them. They'll be honest with me. I trust them. Follow your gut.
Finally, because you mentioned it a little bit, layoffs. You mentioned that earlier, like, when you first started out, people were saying, I understand the proposition. I'm just trying not to lay off people. Obviously that happens. It's probably happening a little bit right now. How should companies deal with this? Let's say a PR agency, they've got to do layoffs. You got to communicate that internally to your fellow colleagues, their friends, right. Communicate externally to the right audiences. Is there a responsibility to help them find a job? Like, how do they do right? It's like, this is still a business. It's not a family. We're here to make money.
Yeah.
We're here for performance. It's not for the faint heart. But what's the balance between humanity and business and trying to figure this out? Well, how are you helping maybe coach some of your leaders to manage these difficult situations?
Well, fortunately, so far, knock wood, no one's asked me about that. So let's hope that doesn't have to happen. I think it's about, it's balance, right? There's balance in everything. Be human, help them where you can. If you can help them with recommendations and connections, active. I mean, if it's not for performance, but it's truly a layoff, it doesn't really cost you anything to try to find this person a job where they can thrive. I think, obviously, if it's an important value to you, give them the best severance that you can. Obviously, can you give them a month or 2 of healthcare? If you can afford it, then do it. I think it's a blend, because if you're at the point in your career where you're laying people off, you've got great networks. You've probably got people in them who these folks can do a good job for. Let's also remember that, what we do continues and continues to continues. If you're laying off for economic reasons, and you're laying off kindly, and you're doing it as well as you can within the limits of your business, someday that person might work on the corporate side and need to hire an agency, and they're going to remember your kindness or not. Someday that person might be corporate or agency, and someone says, hey, here's the gig. Who's the best agency for me? And if you've been kind, that will be remembered. So you do these things, without hope. When we say, oh, karma, well, if I'm nice, I hope they'll be nice back. No, that's not really karma, right? I don't think, as I understand it. It's do the right thing, always know the right thing, without hope of return, without hope of benefit. I do believe the way the world works and the way the universe works, it will come back to you in some good way.
Well, Ken, I appreciate your kindness, the generosity of your time today. Hopefully this will come back to you in some way.
I'm sure it will.
Great wisdom. Really, really amazing wisdom at the right time. This is what we need to be talking about right now. And let's see how the rest of the year plays out. There's just so much uncertainty, but I'm glad that we got to have this conversation. Ken Jacobs, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you to my guest, and thanks for listening. Subscribe to get the latest episodes each week, and we'll see you next time.